I think we can start. So I'm Martina from All Digital, and I would like to welcome you to today's lightning talk, which is the third, and it's part of Code Week training webinar series. I'm delighted that we're all here for this new round that includes sessions designed to inspire educators and teachers with fresh ideas and practical approaches to coding and computational thinking in classrooms. And for your information, this session will be recorded and uploaded on CodeWeek YouTube channel as part of our training material. Today's talk is titled AI to Z, and it is co-organized by All Digital and Avanade. Our speaker, Fergus Kidd, R&D engineering lead at Avanade, will embark you on a life journey where no specific technical skills are required, but only curiosity. The aim of the session is to build a completely functional website from scratch and host it online. A little overview of the agenda for today. We will begin with a 20 more or less minute presentation from Fergus, and then we will move to a Q&A that will last between 5 and 10 minutes. So please feel free to share your questions either in the chat throughout the presentation or also on, of course, that will be ideal during the Q&A. So just speak up and we will listen to you, and Fergus can try to answer. So I think now I can leave the floor to Fergus, and good luck with your presentation.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And thank you for the invite as well. It's great to be here speaking to you all. So my name's Fergus Kidd. I work at a company called Avanade. I'll give you some more information about myself and Avanade at the end, but the high level is I work as the research and development engineering lead. I've been working in the AI sector for about 10 years. And I'm also really passionate about working with young people and students. Work a lot with University College London, and also a program in the UK called the STEM Ambassadors, which is all about getting young minds into science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. So really pleased to be able to speak to you today and hopefully give you an insight into some things that are going on in the industry as well. So first thing I want to do is start with a call to action. When I was I guess about 7 or 8 years old, I distinctly remember sitting in an ICT class, an information technology class, where we were talking about how to Google, how to use Google to study, to further skills, to further education. And that seems crazy these days. It seems like kids sort of have these digital skills natively. It feels like young people are really sometimes more in tune with technology than we are. But it is now today just important to teach AI skills as it was then to teach digital skills. We kind of assume that some of those digital skills exist, but today it is just as important to teach AI skills. Why? Well, firstly, I want to just put out a disclaimer that I'm not using a presentation anymore. So today, everything that we're doing is going to be using AI or looking at real AI tools and real AI answers. So please wish me luck for that because it may be a little bit tricky, but I'll do my best. The other thing is that we're using only at the beginning, we'll only use free tools that are available to anybody, any learner, any educator as well. So you'll probably all be familiar with tools such as ChatGPT. They are great ways to solve questions. Students are probably or definitely using these tools today to do homework, to answer questions, to help them with problems. This is just an example. I've taken a quadratic equation and asked AI to solve that. And what it's done is it goes through step by step. It gives us, we're not gonna do the maths, don't worry. But it goes through step by step and explains to us, the learner, how exactly the AI has approached this. And in this case, we get the correct answer out of the tool that we're using. But huge caveat is that these AI systems, all of the I'll say something like, tell me a story about this. All they are doing is predicting the next word in a sequence. All a large language model is an AI model that predicts the next word based on the questions that you have asked it and based on the content that it itself has seen. This means for things like maths, actually very often AI gets it wrong because it doesn't really understand the intricate details of what x squared is. It's just seen examples before. So many times it will get confused about what the next word should be, and it will confidently share that an answer is correct when actually it isn't. What it's really good at is writing prose, writing y- new interesting blocks of words rather than looking at kind of logical chunks. There is a lot of work going on to make these systems understand things like mathematics in a better way. I can say things like, let's hear that in French. We can do translation. We can do all sorts of very interesting things using the AI tools. This is completely free, available to any learners. But what can we do to take that to the next step and to help students and educators alike understand how AI is actually being applied in the real world and how important it is to teach these skills? For example, if you were teaching Spanish or French, you wouldn't want your students just to go into Google Translate every single time. Google Translate is a great tool for individual words and phrases, but it doesn't actually help you learn the language. So we can think of all of these AI tools as the same. They're excellent tools to help you try and understand, but they do not go the full uh, way. There are great examples of where they can help us do some homework or some assignments and get simple answers to questions. But is there a better way to use these tools in an educational purpose? My view is that these tools are great, but we can go further. This is a tool called Cursor. It's a completely free. It's based on Microsoft Visual Studio Code. You can have different levels of this. So basically, the more questions that you ask, the more money you would have to pay, but there is a free tier that you can use. And here I would just want to show you how we might approach something like a maths homework or something like similar like that with code and actually use the AI tools to generate real code that actually works. Why is this important? When we ask an AI tool to solve something like an equation or to translate a phrase, it's just doing its best interpretation. But some of these models have been specifically trained on code, and this will give us the correct factual answer. There's no chance of the AI models, when we generate good code, there's no chance that the AI models is making anything up. We have an actual answer. The example I want to use here is I have got I've been asked the question, calculate 2 squared, then 2 cubed, all the way up to 2 to the power of 10. This might involve writing some calculations down. It will definitely involve using a calculator at the end. With a very basic understanding of Python, what I have done is come in and done those calculations and said 2 by 2, 2 by 2 by 2, and I can get an answer out. So we get 2 squared is 4, 2 cubed is 8, 2 to the 4 is 16. But this is pretty difficult to understand for a beginner. But there's an AI agent built into this tool. So I can say something like, how could I approach this problem more efficiently? And then I'll say explain step by step. And I'll just make this a little bit larger. Um, and then what the AI will do is see what I've already done within code. It will um, it will give me examples. For example, I'm using repetitive code. That's not terribly great. It's error prone because it's easy to miscalculate. So what the it will then start giving me examples of how to do that. In this case, you can see it's actually given me a loop, which is a much better way of doing this code. And I can take that loop and I can run that and you can see I get the same examples out. But again, I need to understand something around coding. I need to have these tools installed on my computer. So what can we do as educators to make this easier and more interactive and engaging for students than looking at blocks of code? Mm-mm-mm. Sorry, I just got to get my head back in gear. So, what we're interested in doing is taking these examples and building different approaches. So you can see that the AI has given us some examples of how to do these calculations in a better way. It's given us different approaches. It's giving us step-by-step recommendations. And what I'd call out here is that we're actually using Cursor's agentic AI mode. Uh, but there's lots of different models behind the scenes we can use that. So we can use Google's Gemini, we can use Microsoft's OpenAI models to do that. What I have done now is uh, asked the AI to actually turn our mathematics example into a working website. So the AI will now generate for us, through its step-by-step recommendations, a working example of a website. What's the benefit of that? Well, rather than asking students to interact with this code, which depending on their skill level may be quite difficult or intricate for them, is we can actually generate examples running um, in a website, which we can use to actually see or visualize some, so we can teach other students, um, we can do lots of interesting things with how we actually display the information and how we uh, explain that to people. So the code will go through and for us will generate. I'm not really worried about what it's doing. It's doing some error correction. Cursor's a great tool. So what I'm going to say now is let's run that website. Okay, there we go. It's actually given us uh, it's given us the code, but I'm going to ask it to run it for us anyway. And we're just going to run that, and then this is what we need. We see we can actually get the website running using Streamlit. And this is where we get to test whether this is actually working. Okay, so what you're seeing on the screen now is the entirely AI generated version of what we just put in, which is we want to look at different base numbers uh, of mathematics. We want to look at different powers, and it's going to explain it in a much more visual way using that code, right? So we've got uh, the old approach, we've got the new approach, but we can ask the AI to show whatever we want. So what I'm going to do now is actually take quite a boring piece of documentation from the UK government around a particular syllabus. And what I would say is it's very important to understand this could be about any topic. This could be about maths, it could be about French, it could be about history, it could be about complex university level topics. The key thing when you're teaching AI is to teach and understand about context. This document is a gov.uk document about the GCSE mathematics. It could be a research paper. It could be something that you have written or built out yourself. It could be a resource. But what we can actually do is show that to the AI. So I want to say, now look at this resource and let's build a new page with an example of how to visualize and calculate the area of a triangle. So what we're going to do in this case is actually use real documentation. And you can see that the agent here working in Cursor is actually looking at that website for the GCSE maths curriculum, and it is going to generate new pages for us based on that actual curriculum. This is a very important step. Why? Because the AI itself has been trained by the whole on the whole content of the internet. So when we ask it about trigonometry, or when we ask it about French, or we ask it, for example, about Spanish, it may have been trained on more Spanish from Latin America than it has Spain from Spanish from Spain, or whatever it may be. By giving the AI specific context of what we actually want to work on, it's able to generate something more specific to our educational purposes. And that's a really, really key step, and something that I think that educators should understand, but also students could understand, that the context of what you're putting into AI is very important. And letting it just do things on its own isn't that helpful compared to giving it really specific information versus on what you'd actually like to do. So what the AI is now going off and doing is actually adding the code. And it's really what I want you to see as well is it's really well documented. So there are lots of different examples of how the AI is documenting what it's doing. This is quite readable code that it's generating, but I can also ask it to explain exactly step by step what the code is actually doing. It's now going to run a new page so we can see what we've just made. So let's have a go at that. And what it's also now going to tell me it's going to do is going to do the documentation effectively. So it's going to add a README. This is all sort of standard code things. So I'm going to come to our calculator demo and just check it. And it's running the command. There we go. And it's telling me that it's ready. Let's double check that it is. There we go. Check out the triangular area calculator in the sidebar. And it's not there, is it? So let's see if there's a link or an instruction. So what I'm going to do is just ask it to remove some of the other code, because we can see this is a perfect example of where things go wrong with AI, and especially with AI coding, as it says, check out the triangle area calculator in the sidebar, but it's not there yet. So we're just going to have to ask the AI to clarify that. And it will go away and do its thing. Unless it's down here. Nope. This is why it's always dangerous to do live demos, but I think it's gets the point across just how easy it is, hopefully.
No problem, Fergus. I think it's important also to see how to potentially solve issues that might
Yeah,
arise.
exactly.
It's actually
So
more useful.
yeah. So how do we solve those issues? Well, this is, and I think this is, Martina's right, this is a really important learning step, right? Is that how do we can't trust everything that AI is doing. Very often it's based on our understanding of the problem and the AI's ability of the problem. You can see that it's just added 388 lines of code and removed 159. Now that is more lines of code than I could have written in half a day if I was doing this myself from scratch, which on one hand is great because we can get lots of interesting things done very quickly. And on the other hand is a bit of a drawback because um, we actually don't, it would take us time to understand every single line of code that we're doing. So my approach when I'm using AI tools, especially AI code tools, is to go for what works. And that, so the most important thing about that is really about testing, testing, testing. So keep coming back to the website, make sure that it does what you want it to do, make sure that it explains the concept that you want it to explain. And that's something that I would like to get across to um, the kind of next generation as well. So if we refresh this now, okay. So now we have from scratch a visualize, and you can see this visualization is actually changing as I change the height of the triangle. It's giving me the answer, it's giving me the steps of the calculation, and this is really based on a very, very simple input. We've got some calculators, but you can imagine how we could actually use this instead of a presentation, instead of a group project. We could ask students to put these sorts of interactive websites together rather than doing presentations. And you can see how sort of quickly and easily you can get something really quite cool out to solve particular problems and learn about new areas and new topics. So, with that, I'd like to leave you with my second call to action, which is please, as educators, as people who work with the next generation, uh, set AI assignments as often as you would set assignments in other mediums. So if you are currently setting assignments in PowerPoint, or you're currently setting assignments to do verbal presentations back to the class, or write essays, or generate different things, please consider using AI as one of those. Why? One, because I think you'll be amazed at what your learners can do with artificial intelligence. But the main thing is it's so important for them to understand how these systems work, what they are good at, what they are not good at, and how they can be applied to real world problems. People like myself are using these tools every day at work. People who spend a lot of time doing information and knowledge work today are using these tools every day at work. These tools will become more prolific, just as computers, if we take ourselves back to 1980, and think about computer use across society, how how different today is with computer use, that's going to be true of AI as well. These tools will start entering themselves into every area of our life. So we have to understand them. We have to know how they work and how we can best use them for our outcomes. So please, I would urge you to set AI assignments to help your students explore the tools, help them see where they go wrong, like we have today as well. I've got a few resources I will leave you with as we enter Q&A as well. On the left, there's actually a link where educators and students can get up to $100 of Azure credits that can be used for things like AI services. If you're interested, I can show you a bit more of what you can actually get access to. There's a link to my website where I will be putting all of the code that we've generated today on GitHub, and I'll be sharing that on my website, which is the middle one. And then there's also more about Avanade on the right-hand side. But I'd be very happy to spend the next few minutes taking any questions that we have or showing you some more of what we can do with Microsoft and Azure and the cloud as well.
Thank you, Fergus. That was really impressive, at least for me. Very nice. And it actually, as you said, it was more powerful to show how to really do that rather than having just a presentation like with screenshots or stuff. And also how to solve potential issues that might arise. Is there any question from the audience or I don't know, anything that you would like to share? I think it's a really good opportunity to ask whatever you might be interested in because I mean as you could see, Fergus is really an expert, and so if you are thinking of introducing AI in your processes or building websites or anything or coding is the right place to ask questions.
I'm just seeing some questions from earlier as well. So Um, Eunice said Claude AI and Bolt are other good options for generating websites. Yeah, there's lots and lots of tools out there. Some of them are paid for, some of them are free. So I'd really encourage you to explore those with your students or yourselves as well. Um, More and more tools come online every day. It's sort of the wild west of AI out here. And so yeah, do have a look at the vast options of different tools that you can use as well. Some of those will be or will become specialized to education as well. But in the meantime, there's lots of free tools like ChatGPT, Claude. I used Cursor today that you can use as well. It might be worth just showing what we can do with, speaking of tooling, like what we can do with Azure specifically. Azure actually has, and you can use that link to get $100 of free credit for this. But um, Azure has a number of playgrounds. We have the chat playground, which is great for testing models that run ChatGPT. So you can actually ask it the same questions you would in ChatGPT. But we also have access to image playgrounds where we can use different models to generate some cool images. So let's see, let's a diagram of a triangle. Can't spell today. Where we can actually generate specific images. We've also got video generation in there. We've also got agentic AI for agents as well. And there's lots and lots of different tools that we can use. These are slightly more advanced. It's probably best to start with. So there's a diagram we've generated. I mean, a lot of us will be familiar with AI generate image generation tools. It's probably best to start with simple and easy sort of back and forth tools such as ChatGPT. Um, but Microsoft give us like access to a lot of those individually. Why is that important? Well, it's really nice because you can actually build some of these integrations into your website. So if I go back to my AI coding agent and I say, I've got access to Azure image generation, we could actually include that as part of our website. So if we were doing a history project, we could include generated images of the Battle of Agincourt or whatever it is that we're learning about, and use those services to enhance what we're actually building for educators and students alike.
Thank you, Fergus. Um, what would be, according to you, the main differences between? I mean, there are for sure because otherwise there wouldn't be a difference in the fees as well. But like between free tools and paid tools, like what would be the main difference according to you as you know them?
Yeah, sure. So that's a good question. The main one is usage, all right? With free tools, I'm often getting access to the very same models behind which are powering the AI and the very same services, but I may only be allowed to ask 20 questions in a week or 100 questions in a month before I need to move to the paid service. So often they're great for individuals, but maybe in a classroom setting, if you had a lot of students using your asking questions to an AI, you might run out of messages quite quickly. So one scenario is you just move from one tool to another and use up all the free resources. The other one is how long you might have to wait for a response. Often the paid services are just much quicker because they prioritize the paid messages. You'll see this with AI image generation within ChatGPT um, to actually see um, what uh, how the images are visualized. You might be asked to wait until your image is visualized. When you have a paid for service, you don't have that. And then I'd say those are the two main things is like amount of messages you can send, the speed of return. The third one is you sometimes with paid services, you will get access to newer or more advanced models. But very often, I think, especially for within education and learners, it's perfectly acceptable to use the free, uh, simpler versions and sort of build up from there. The more kind of modern paid access models such as GPT Deep Research and other you can get that in the free version as well, but they're much more in depth. They're more targeted at maybe university level learners to um, help them to you know research across lots a much larger and different sector. So that might be more secondary school age or university level students rather than trying to teach basics, not basic, but trying to teach more tangible lower level concepts to students.
Okay, thank you very much. That was great. And we have a question from the chat,
Yeah.
which is if you have any books recommendations that might be useful.
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think um, the problem with AI and books is that by the time somebody's written the book, it's out of date because this stuff is moving so quickly. Which is why I definitely recommend like a hands-on approach to AI and learning. I think you can get a lot of progress by taking a hands-on approach. Um, One book I would definitely recommend actually um, is Building Green Software. Why? Because there's a whole section in here on AI, as far as I remember, and I think these are the sort of more important skills to consider when you're actually coding, when you're using generative AI, is to have a think about the impact of that. So how is that sustainable? How is that good for the environment? Are we doing things, making sure we're thinking about what we're doing before we embark on that journey, uh, and um, and to build up those skills with environmentalism, with all of that in mind. Another question in the chat: what's the best way to introduce AI to younger kids, like primary school level? The I find the best way to introduce AI to younger children is through creativity. So it's through tools like this. It's to allow them to get access to the way that I've done this in the past is the students come up one by one and they describe to you, the educator, something they want to see. A really interesting example of this, I'm not sure I can show you exactly. Okay. A tool that I have gen online that's free to use for this is the Generative AI Aquarium. Um, so this is a aquarium, digital aquarium where you can invite younger students up to describe what they would like to see. So in this case, it's a fish, but this could be anything. It could be like an alien spaceship. It could be a toy. It could be a character. And then you would describe the fish. So I'd say like a vibrant pink fish with long flowing tail. And you can actually generate that for them and with them and show them through creativity, um, which is um, really interesting. In my example on GitHub, what I've got is that fish will then swim into the aquarium, but you absolutely don't have to do that. You can do it on a sort of one-on-one basis. So in my example, this pink fish would actually swim into the aquarium as well. Oh dear.
Wow,
Uh,
amazing. Thank you. And
no.
we have another comment in the chat, which is
Yeah.
if you could please share some resources for students in middle school to animate an AI club.
Sure. So what I will do is I will put all of the code on my website, which is just ferguskid.com. I'll put that in the chat. What I will do is put all of the code that we generated today in the example. So I will put this code with the different triangle examples onto my GitHub, and I'll post an article about it there, and I will put some resources in that as well, and I'll share that on LinkedIn as well. So please feel free to check that out or reach out to me as well.
Yes, I think that that's the ideal way forward. Remember, and I'm speaking to the audience now, remember that this recording will be posted on our EU Code Week YouTube playlist. So you will find the whole recording there with the whole QR codes as well, in case you missed the. I mean, Fergus shared his link on the chat, but in case you don't find it in the future, you will find the QR code in the last slide of the presentation as he's shared before. So everything will be on YouTube soon, very soon, I promise. So in case there are no further questions, I would like to wrap up. First of all, by thanking Fergus for his amazing job today. And it was very, very very interesting and very like interactive. And also, before wrapping up, I would like to make a quick reminder about our last lightning talk, which will be happening tomorrow, and it will be co-organized by All Digital and Coder Dojo Belgium. It's titled Nerdkunst, a gentle and interactive introduction to generative art, and it's gonna be interactive as well. It's gonna be super interesting and innovative as the one of today. And it will be focused on introducing participants to the world of computer generated art through live demonstrations and interactive exploration. So, thanks for joining. It was a pleasure to have you all here. And happy Code Week. It's still Code Week, so happy Code Week to everyone. And hopefully see you tomorrow. Registrations are still open. Okay? Thank you very much and have a wonderful afternoon.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.